This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Are you ready for some top-notch entertainment? Well, you'll have to settle for me, Ricky Hawthorn, here on 2 Point Radio. And we start with this lovely number. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. I know you've missed me, but not to worry. The Ricky Hawthorn Show is back on 2 Point Radio to chase away your blues, your reds, and even your yellows. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. This is Ricky Hawthorn, bringing talk, music, and news to the whole of 2 Point County. And if you're listening to us from the newly opened hospital, just turn up that volume, because nothing drowns out the sound of sick people like the voice of a world-class DJ. Coming up next, 42 hours of music from the background band. Enjoy! Cheer up, dear listeners. Ricky Hawthorn is back with more great music on 2 Point Radio, so don't go anywhere. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. A warm welcome once again. I'm Ricky Hawthorn, and you're listening to 2 Point Radio. We're going to start today's show with a lively number. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. In today's Gossip Roundup, Mrs. Eggshock is still wearing that leg cast we all know is a fake. The squatters in number 19 Mud Street have put up new curtains, and a new species of venomous spider is poised to infest our homes this summer. More gossip next time. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. The moment you've been waiting for is finally here. That's right, Ricky Hawthorn here with hours upon hours of chat, music, and miscellaneous filler. Stick around. Some sad news today, all the way from our neighbouring county, where we hear the ratings for my brother's radio show are down for the first time in a decade. So let's all keep our fingers crossed for Simon Hawthorn and hope he doesn't lose his job. Living on the streets, hugging a flea-ridden blanket, wondering where it all went wrong. Why couldn't be as successful as his brother Ricky? Chin up, Si. I just made myself a cup of tea. Is there anything more soothing and comforting? This next tune is very much like a cup of tea. It's wet, it's hot, and it's full of sugar. So let your ears drink it down. There's a funny sort of smell in the booth this morning. Burnt toast, I'd say, from a slightly past its sell-by-date granary loaf. Nope. I tell a lie, I think it might be more of a seeded farmhouse. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sounds like something's gone wrong with old Ricky's brain, but the explanation is much simpler. That's right, the new air fresheners from our sponsors, Krusty Fragrance, have arrived. So buy Krusty Fresheners and your whole house could smell of toast. In the news today, local police are warning citizens about an influx of counterfeit socks all around the county. So remember, if a sock salesman comes knocking at your door, check his credentials carefully. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Hello to all my faithful listeners out there. This is Ricky Hawthorn, ready to pour another jar of good old-fashioned honey into your ears. And remember, the honey I'm referring to here is my voice. There's no need to panic and call in to complain like last time. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Time for the news. Eyes for You, the popular hog sport opticians, was burgled last night. Thieves made off with all the charts used for testing. So, if you see anyone carrying a poster full of letters around the town, see if you can make out the fourth line down. That's a tricky one. I've been informed that the local library is implementing a new policy this week. Head librarian Penelope Staffage, tired of so many people forgetting to return books, is threatening to sneak into our homes at night and recover any overdue volumes while we sleep. So if you find your breakfast cereals arranged alphabetically and shelved by fiber content, don't be alarmed. It's just old Penelope doing her job. In the news, a new study suggests going to a hospital could pose a risk to your health. After polling more than 200 people who had recently visited hospitals, the author of the report found many of them to be dead. More news in an hour. And we're back with a reminder that it's National Shoelace Day, a time to give thanks for this wonder of footwear security. So call in and tell us, what's your favorite way of tying your shoelaces? All lines are open. And now the news. The infamous Flemington litterer has finally been caught. The criminal, whose real name is Bertie Pramswaggle, is 72 years old and has been dropping litter for decades. His speciality was empty packets of crisps. I think we'll all sleep easier knowing Bertie is off the streets. There's a lot of negativity out there these days, so I'm starting a new segment called The Best Thing About My Town. So, wherever you are in 2 Point County, I want you to call in and tell me what's the best thing about your town. Can't wait to hear from you. I was invited to the home of one of my most ardent fans earlier this week for a nice cup of tea and a fruit bun. What a marvellous time it was. Mrs. Tickling put on a very generous spread indeed. Though I must say, Mr. Tickling, who you may know is the owner of Tickling's Butchers, was surprised to find me home when he arrived earlier than usual. There's nothing like being chased by a man with a cleaver to get the old ticker going. In other news, for the next year, I will be doing daily 20-minute unpaid advertisements for Tickling's Butchers, the beef that can't be beat. We've been inundated with calls for our new segment, The Best Thing About My Town. Sandy Bottom says the best thing about Flottering is its ancient castle, where the ghosts of ancient kings and queens come out and dance every night. You're an odd one, Sandy, but it takes all sorts. You know, other DJs, some of them on this very station, believe it or not, can be, well, a tad grumpy, to be perfectly blunt. I'm not naming any names, mind you. Nigel! Anyway, I've filled the booth with kitten pictures, so hopefully we'll have nothing but happiness on the airwaves from now on. Another heartwarming call from a listener in Flemington this time, Jarvis Topshelf, who says, the best thing about my town is how nobody can afford to live here unless they're very, very rich. Now, how's that for honesty? Marvellous. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. You'll have to excuse me if I sound a little less effervescent than usual today. It was a bit of a restless night in the Hawthorn household, and I'm afraid I didn't get much sleep. My spaniel, Federico, woke me up in a fit of barking, and when I went to fetch him a bowl of baked beans, that always calms him right down, I noticed a bit of a commotion outside. 7 police cars, 2 ambulances, and the remains of what I believe one calls a street gang fight. Not a pretty sight, let me tell you. Still, all those blue and red lights certainly did give the street a festive look, and I'm happy to say by this morning, most of the teeth had been hosed away. Now, let's listen to some jolly wake-me-up music. I asked all you dear listeners to get in touch and tell us what the best thing about your town is. Well, Kelly Andiron says what she likes most about Smogley is how the thick chemical haze protects her from the harmful rays of the sun. That's the spirit, Kelly. What a smashing day for a bit of gardening. I mean, who doesn't like gardening? Digging up a bit of soil, sticking your hands in a bit of manure. Oh, I can almost smell it now. No, wait, the sewage pipes burst again. No, my mistake. Anyway, keep those fingers green. The latest listener to call in and tell us about the best thing about their town is Andy Puddington, who lives in Sweaty Palms. What he likes most, he says, is the way the furniture rearranges itself after every earthquake. No need to redecorate there. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. We're coming up to the top of the hour, which, if you ask me, is the very best part of the hour. I know, some of you will say, but Ricky, what about the bottom of the hour? And you'd be right. And it's time for another listener to tell us about what the best thing about their town is. Sandra Crableg called in from Rotting Hill to say it's not got much going for it, but at least it has an honest name. That's what we like to hear, Sandra. Always look on the bright side. It's always lovely to hear from you people out there, especially when it's to tell us the best thing about your town. Barry called in to say the best thing about the meltdowns are the strange three-eyed animals that have escaped the labs of Bungle Technologies. Today's weather report. The sun is out again. It may be obscured by dark clouds, but I'm pretty sure the sun is right there behind them. And really, just think of the marvel that is the sun. Every single day, without fail, it shows up to light up our streets, warm our faces, burn our ants. And let's not forget about air. Where would we be without that? Stay tuned for the traffic report. That delightful Jasmine Odyssey isn't just a pop-singing sensation, she's also quite the humanitarian. Why, only this morning, she was visiting some of our local hospitals. She insisted on singing a song or two, even when the patients begged her not to. What an angel! And now, how about some classical music? No? Alrighty then. The dashing Roderick Cushion, star of the perilous spandex films, was seen doing a bit of publicity down at a local hospital today. I'm sorry, did I say publicity? I meant charity, of course. That odd chap, Augustus Lavender, CEO of Holistics, was seen stepping into one of the county's hospitals today. Rumour has it he had a suitcase full of his wonderful wellness candles with him. Never one to miss a chance to make a sale is old Lavender. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. You may find this hard to believe, but I was very angry as a child. Chalk it up to parental neglect, all my brother Simon's constant bullying. The fact is that I was a rage-filled young man, as likely to bite your cheek off as to shake your hand. So what changed? Why, I found my calling, reaching out to millions, sometimes dozens of people over this wonderful medium we call radio. So I want to thank every single one of you out there, and pray I never lose my job, because I know where you all live. Now, some more music guaranteed to put your brain to sleep. The head of Bungle, Sophie Nova, dropped by a local hospital earlier today. She's said to have been shocked that the doctors there conducted so few experiments on their patients. It's nice to see she hasn't lost her sense of wonder. Robberies are up 20%, arson is up 40%, and parking violations are down 7%. Marvelous! Some hospital patients were lucky enough today to receive a visit from Agatha Sphere, the Orb Foundation's enlightened leader. No confirmed reports yet on whether her chanting cured anybody, but we'll keep you updated. I'd like you to all think of a butterfly, sleepily waving its colourful wings. Isn't that a lovely image? Meanwhile, in the news today, the Mayor has announced a 100% increase in our taxes. In today's news, Minister for Health Tarquin Foxbridge visited some local hospitals. The tireless politician was making sure they're conforming with all the proper regulations. So, on behalf of all 2 Point Radio, I can say thank you for taking such good care of us, Mr. Foxbridge. You won't believe what happened this morning. The water pipes in my kitchen burst, flooding the house and causing a cave-in in the living room. But that's what you get for living in a hard water area, I suppose. We'll be back right after this. You can always count on Mayor Tabitha Windsock to be out and about this fine county of ours. This very morning, she was seen visiting a local hospital. Well, if a visit from the mayor doesn't cure you, I don't know what will. Well, obviously that was not the tune I meant to play, but it seems we have one of those pesky viruses in the system. Wait. No, my producer's telling me we've been hacked. It's just one of those days. I have no idea what song will play next, but I hope it's a good one. Our roving reporter, Sally Figblanket, has been out recording a new segment on 2 Point County's hospitals. I've never actually seen any of her pieces, but I'm told they're very good indeed. Keep up the sterling work, Sally. Ricky Hawthorn here, bringing you music, sunshine, and old-fashioned charm on 2 Point Radio. And we begin with a belter of a track. We're getting news of a rather sizable earthquake hitting one of our hospitals. If you're there now, try not to fall into any holes and stay away from any cracks in the walls. Oh, and have a listen to this lovely song. It'll calm you right down. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. You're tuned in to 2 Point Radio, and I'm your host, Ricky Hawthorn. Stick around for some fabulous tunes and just a little bit of chatter. Some alarming reports of an earthquake causing considerable damage to a local hospital. Hope nobody broke anything, but if you did, at least you're in the right place for it. Strap on your face masks, because we're getting reports of a new epidemic. I wouldn't worry too much though. Those fabulous men and women running the county's hospitals are sure to find a cure soon enough. And if they don't, there's still music like this to listen to. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. It's time to turn your radio frown upside down. That's right, Ricky Hawthorn's here to chase away the clouds. First, a lively little song to kick things off. There's another one of those pesky epidemics doing the rounds today. I had an epidemic once, but a course of antibiotics cleared it right up. I'm sure the wonderful 2 Point County doctors can do the same with this one. Hello, hello, hello! Ricky Hawthorn is back on 2 Point Radio. I hope you've missed me as much as I've missed you. What will they think of next? Holistics, one of my favorite companies in the world, has come up with a Damson Jam face mask, which they claim has over a 3% chance of making you live longer. I've already ordered 2 boxes. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Welcome back to the Ricky Hawthorn Show, 2 Point Radio's top-rated program. We have some wonderful music coming up, so let's not waste any more time. There are those who say that the CEO of Bungle Technologies, the charmingly quirky Sophie Nova, is one conductive track short of a fully functioning circuit board. I have no idea what that means, but I do know a good tune from a bag of onions. Have a guess which one this is. There's an article in the Daily Sneer today accusing Bungle Tech of toying with nature and of employing far more mad scientists than the national average. Well, I for one think it's about time mad scientists had some place they can call home. I just looked out of the window and saw a monkey riding a moon bear, escapees from Grokel Bay Zoo, an advertising campaign for the Cirque du Parfait. I'll find out more while you listen to this cheeky little number. It turns out the monkey riding the moon bear was the latest moving art installation from 2 Point County's celebrated artist Arthur B. Cramp. Modern art, eh? Me, I like my art simple and monkeyless, just like this next song. We are experiencing some minor difficulties right now. I hope you can hear me because I can't hear myself. I can't hear anything, as a matter of fact. Oh, wait. My headphones were unplugged. There we are. Lovely. It's another beautiful day in 2 Point County, so why not go out there and enjoy it? Visit Crockle Bay Zoo, take a boat trip out of Hogsport, or just sit in any of our wonderful parks. Whatever you do, don't forget to take your radio so I can enjoy it all with you. If we have time. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn, the only radio DJ guaranteed to bring happiness into your lives. Now, let's listen to a nice uplifting tune. Jumbo Corp boss Jumbo McNally visited a local hospital today in one of his routine goodwill tours. A spokesman for Mr. McNally said he handed out discount vouchers on some of Jumbo's most popular snacks. Wasn't that lovely of him? You're on the air with Ricky Hawthorn. Well, actually, I'm the one who's on the air. You're just listening to me being on the air. You're listening to the air. A study of the nation's most powerful companies puts our very own Jumbo Corp in second place, calling it a ruthless, cutthroat operation hell-bent on dominating every area of the market. Or as I would put it, local boys done good. Here's a song to celebrate. Jumbo McNally, CEO of Jumbo Corp, put out a profit warning this morning. If we don't crush all opposition, he said, our shareholders may not make that extra billion I promised them. He assures everyone he has a plan in place. So that's a relief. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Welcome to another edition of Ricky Hawthorn Speaks in Between Bits of Music. That's right, and I'll be speaking again after this bit of music. There was a protest outside the headquarters of Jumbo Corp earlier today, accusing the company of suffocating small businesses and employing strong-arm tactics. Luckily, corporate security tear-gassed the crowd, and everything's back to normal. Super! It's time to fill your ears with sunshine because Ricky Hawthorn is back on 2 Point Radio. We have hours of fun ahead, so don't go anywhere. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Hi, I'm Ricky Hawthorn, and for the next few hours, I'll be playing you all the greatest hits of the decade. Which decade? Stay tuned to find out. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio, and I know you've missed me just as much as I've missed you, so don't move that dial. Hello, dear listeners. I'm Ricky Hawthorn. How are you doing this fine morning? Is it morning? I'm all confused. Let's play a record while I sort myself out. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Are you ready for bland music and banal banter? Then you're in luck because I'm Ricky Hawthorn and you're listening to 2 Point Radio. You know, I've been humming that tune to myself all week, which is uncanny because I've never heard it before. Or have I? Oh well, more catchy music coming right up. 2 Point County's valiant health and safety watchdog Henry Jobsworth has been called into the new Sweaty Palms fast food restaurant Roach Burgers, home to the crunchiest burgers in town. No word yet on why the inspector's there. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Would you believe it? Old Henry Jobsworth, the local health and safety inspector, is threatening to close down Merrydung Farm. Apparently the place is infested with cows, pigs and chickens. Steady on, Henry. Well, would you believe it? A tree came crashing through my conservatory last night. Well, no sense dwelling on the past, and the place does look greener now. Here's a nice song to celebrate. Holistics Environmental Medicine and Pharmaceuticals, the company's healthcare branch, also known as HEMP, has announced its hospitals will now be completely free of palm oil. Holistics will now use orangutan oil in all its medicine instead. I went to a Holistics nature commune last week to see what they could do about my gravy allergy. They recommended a long stay at their spa and a bottle of rosemary extract. It cost me a month's wages, but I'm finally starting to feel the effects. Still can't eat gravy though. Hearing such wonderful music reminds me of my youth, when I could just sit quietly and listen to songs one after the other. Well, never mind. Let's listen to some more songs. Bungle Meditech is in the news today after claiming they've found a cure for acne. They say all it requires is replacing 99% of one's blood with newt blood. The company hopes to start trialing the procedure early next year. Yesterday was the 25th anniversary of my time here on 2 Point Radio. Back then, we didn't have all these technological gizmos, you know. We had to wind up the records manually and shout really loudly. Oh, how times have changed. Bungle was forced to close one of its experimental treatment centers this morning after its cybernetic doctors experienced a malfunction and started performing autopsies on all patients. Bungle says the error is being corrected and the centers will reopen soon. A report released today claims that 2 Point County has the best medical coverage in the country. And while it does say it can't vouch for what goes on in the Orb Wellness Centres, they're sure those are top-notch too. That's good enough for me. The healthcare branch of the Orb Foundation has launched a new campaign called Real Doctors. Who needs them? Well, according to this lovely pamphlet, not me, the healing power of the orb should do just fine. Jumbo Medical Solutions has introduced a wonderful new feature in all their hospitals. At one press of a button, bedridden patients can now order any Jumbo product and have it flown in by drone directly to their room. How's that for convenient? Remember everyone, it's quiz night at the Oily Cormorant down in Hogsport. I'll be there with my team getting every question wrong and having a jolly good time of it. A bit of a scandal this morning after it emerged that Jumbo Medical Solutions has been secretly extracting blood samples from people using Jumbo vending machines. The company says it's merely monitoring the health of all its customers, which is awfully nice of them, I must say. We hear that Jumbo is preparing to expand into the music business. They'll be holding auditions with hopeful singers all week, and so many people have been queuing up to pay the registration fee, Jumbo has already declared the venture highly profitable. Those clever so-and-sos. Now that's the kind of song I like to listen to when I'm out jogging every morning. I like to run down Lower Bullocks as fast as I can until I fall to the ground. Good thing there's a few hospitals nearby. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Jumbo is introducing a new range of mobile phones that track your every movement, record everything you say, and make high-definition videos of everything you do. What a convenient way of keeping track of yourself. After the Daily Sneer revealed the shockingly low wages Jumbo pays most of its employees, the company has launched an internal investigation into the matter. It says it hopes it'll soon be able to pay no wages at all, which is one way of dealing with the problem, I suppose. Did I ever tell you about the time I was in a band? Hard to believe these days, but there I was, a long-haired bass player with the fry-ups, dreaming of glory. One of these days I'll dig up one of our old demos and play it for you. Until then, here's a professionally produced compact disc recording by a band whose name I can't pronounce. A charming little story in the news today. Little Kathy Crumple reported her cat missing a week ago. But I'm happy to say Mr. Whiskers has been found safe and sound in the Sweaty Palms Casino. Apparently, he made enough playing the slots to buy himself a half-ton bag of catnip. Marvellous. You know, we have an old saying in the radio game, always pretend to like the music. I think that's good advice for us all, and I can tell you with all sincerity that this next track is an absolute corker. And now the news. A gang of thieves is terrorizing the county with over a dozen break-ins reported in the past month. Police say the criminals are mostly interested in used, cheap plastic pens. So, if you're ever looking for a pen and can't find one, you may be one of the unfortunate victims. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Requests have been pouring in for us to play Jasmine Odyssey's latest single, The Toes of Love. Unfortunately, we don't have the rights to that one, so how about some background music instead? Time for all the latest news around the county. Well, would you look at that? Seems nothing at all has happened today. Ah, well, you know what they say, no news is good news. I got handed a leaflet about the Orb Foundation this morning. What an absolutely lovely bunch of people they are, and not at all like a cult. I might just have to join them and see what it's all about. In the news, 2 Point County's oldest photography store is in trouble after a shortage in chemicals used during darkroom processing. We'll let you know if there are any developments. Some breaking news now. A meteorite has been spotted streaming through the sky and headed right for 2 Point County. Just kidding. It's actually headed to the county right next to ours, so we should all be nice and safe. In today's headlines, lottery winner Arthur Compass has announced winning the jackpot hasn't changed him one bit. He made this announcement floating over Croquembouche in his new gold-plated hovercraft, just like he's always done. I told you recently I was a bass player in a band called the Fry-Ups. Well, I finally found a tape of our demo, so later on you can enjoy the world premiere, 28 years after it was recorded, of Spoonful of Grease, written by yours truly. Enjoy. We're in the mood for romance here on 2 Point Radio, so if you have a request you'd like to dedicate to your significant other, well, perhaps you should call them something nicer than significant other, but also tell us how you met and what song you'd like us to play. Ah, that takes me back, so it does. We could have been big, but as is usually the case, our big egos got in the way. We got into a big fight just because I kept turning the bass up in the mix. Would you believe it? Anyway, here's a song by a much less talented band. Mildred Shears has called in to request the next song for her husband, Clarence. They met 7 years ago on a cruise ship that sailed from Hogsport and landed at Crockle Bay 40 minutes later. Plenty of time for love to blossom, as well as dysentery. This next song is dedicated to Alison from her boyfriend, Freddie Cheddar. They met last week while doing community service, picking up litter at Grogben's Ring, and have pledged to love each other forever. Let's try to make it to the 2-week anniversary first, Freddie. Oh, yes. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Jenny Rumblebug would like to dedicate this next song to Cassie, whom she met 2 years ago during a skiing weekend in Underlook, in which they discovered neither of them liked skiing, snow, or mountains. Two kindred spirits indeed. Looking out at the pointy mountains the other day, I was inspired to compose a poem. I didn't have a piece of paper to write it down on, but there was something about snow and hot chocolate and breaking your leg in 5 places. If only I could remember what rhymed with multiple fractures. Norm has called in to request this next song for his sweetheart, Aggie, to celebrate 62 years of being together. They met when they both decided to rob the same bank, after which they went on a crime spree that lasted 20 years. Not sure you want to admit that on the radio, Norm, but congratulations anyway. Lily has requested the upcoming song for her darling Pete, who she hasn't seen for 2 months. Pete is currently working in a highly secret and classified government facility in the Meltdowns. Well, not so secret now, eh, Pete? Enjoy this smashing tune. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. I've signed up for a long-distance learning class, how to build your own nuclear submarine. It's a childhood dream of mine, and I'm thrilled I'll finally make it come true after another 7,435 lessons. More great radio on the way. Sergeant Danny Thimble would like to dedicate the upcoming song to his lifelong partner Tom, an anesthesiologist. They met while performing surgery on a knobbly knee patient, and I can't think of anything more romantic than that. It's not easy keeping your spirits up in these difficult times, which is why we have a Nice Words of the Day segment. So send in your favourite inspirational phrases, and we can spread our joy far and wide. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. We've had a bit of excitement in the studio today. A squirrel came in off the street and managed to break into our old record room. After we chased him out, we found he'd taken an album out of its sleeve. So here it is, the squirrel's favourite record. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Today's Nice Words of the Day quote comes from Bob Washcloth, who says, "Live every moment like you're late for work and the toast is on fire." I'm not sure what that means, but everybody loves toast. Some good advice from George Bristles, who sent in this quote: "If at first you fail, be thankful that you have friends. Watching them fail too will make you feel better." He's right, you know. Helen Topsoil has sent in this uplifting saying which never fails to bring a smile to her face. Life is like a carrot. It's your job to be a rabbit. Well, if nothing else, you'll have good eyesight, I suppose. John Hinges has taken our Nice Words of the Day idea a little bit too literally, I believe. His suggestions were sponge, curvature, and plonk. Well, those are very nice words, John, so I'll let that stand. Alison Cattle has sent us her favourite inspirational phrase. "Love," she says, "is the ladle that stirs the soup of life." I use a ladle to serve the soup into big bowls, not stir it, but I guess it works both ways. I've been inundated with calls about my old band's demo, asking for copies at any price. Well, I hate to disappoint my legions of fans, so all 4 of you will be getting a tape of the Fry-Up's rare and almost forgotten masterpiece. Sent them this morning, 2nd class. You're very welcome. Today's words of inspiration come from Anthony Naval, who says, "Don't be afraid of disappointment or your next dentist appointment." I'll keep that in mind next time I'm due for a checkup. Augusta Follicle has called in with her Nice Words of the Day, which are, "Sprinkle a little magic on your breakfast and give flight to your soul all day." A nice sentiment, Augusta, but we don't condone the taking of illegal substances on 2 Point Radio. Words to live by from Biffo Spender in today's inspirational quotes. "A good platitude is worth 1,000 latitudes." Not so great advice for navigators, though. There's a new health company in town, and their innovative methods are causing quite a stir. I, for one, can't wait to be injured in some horrible way so I can see their work for myself. In the meantime, here's a song that's guaranteed to make you feel ill. It's time for Nice Words of the Day, which today comes courtesy of Annabella Parrott. Defeat the no inside you, and everything will turn out yes. A profound sentiment, or total gibberish? You decide, dear listeners. Boris Catterwall has contributed a particularly rousing and patriotic inspirational quote to remember in the face of adversity. Keep calm and continue spewing banalities. I will, Boris. I certainly will. Very exciting news this morning. I was approached by a member of the Orb Foundation. I, of course, told them I was very interested in joining their secretive and bizarre organization. I have an interview tomorrow, so wish me luck. Today's thought for the day is something of a conundrum and was suggested by a loyal listener, Katie Bottle. Be thankful for wisdom. It makes you wise enough to know what to be thankful for. Well, I'm thankful for that quote, Katie. I hear famed actor Roderick Cushion is staying at a certain hotel in Grockle Bay this week, fresh off his latest blockbuster, Perilous Spandex 5. I was a big fan of the previous 4, so this song is dedicated to him. Someone by the name of Jimbo Company has suggested this hopeful quote. If the world gets too much, take a deep breath and go shopping. Jimbo goes on to say that all Jumbo products are 20% off this weekend. Good to know, Jimbo. Marjorie Dill Pickle sends us today's nice words of the day, which are, if you are confident, everything else will follow. That's right, Marjorie, including old age and death. I'm confident of that. I've received a letter from Graham Cornichon, who is currently laid up in hospital down in Flemington. Graham is a big fan of Jasmine Odyssey and would like to hear her latest single. Well, we don't have that one, but I can play this song by a completely unrelated artist. Hope you like it. Thomas Starkers has contributed today's inspirational quote. There's nothing you can't do with sufficient determination, except make yourself invisible. That requires magic or some kind of super futuristic technology. You're probably right, Thomas. You're probably right. I'm glad to say that my interview with the Orb Foundation went very well indeed. I've been booked in for my indoctrination, where I will learn all about the greatness of the Orb and get my own set of robes. It's a lovely little tune to celebrate. Megan Purse has sent in a very thorough quote for today's nice words of the day. Remember that you are strong and blessed, that to live is to learn, and that all bad things happen for a reason, while good ones come to those who wait. That's a lot of nice words, Megan. In the news today, a group of backpackers have been airlifted out of Tumble Ridge after spending a week wandering the woods, then another week stranded on the edge of a cliff. It seems nobody broke anything or tried to eat anybody else. So that counts as a successful trip in my book. There's nothing quite as refreshing as a can of moose juice, and it tastes even better if you're washing down a bag of cheesy gubbins. Now listen to these lovely tunes while I take a shower. After receiving over 4 applications to the 2-point radio internship position, we now have a winner. Kirby Pliers stood head and shoulders above everyone else. Well, he is 6'10". Wish him good luck. He'll be starting right after this song. I got handed a leaflet about the Orb Foundation one morning last week. What an absolutely lovely bunch of people, I thought to myself, and not at all like a cult. You'll never guess what happened next. I was telling you about the mysterious Orb Foundation. Well, after being handed a leaflet, I was approached by one of its senior members. I, of course, told them I was very interested in joining their secretive and bizarre organization, and an interview was set up for the very next day, and I'll tell you about it later. If you go fishing off the coast of Hogsport, don't make the mistake I did and use briny brittle as bait. The sea turned black, thousands of fish floated dead to the surface, and a loud voice proclaimed the end of times. If only I'd had a camera. To continue my tale about the Orb Foundation, I'm pleased to say my interview went very well indeed. I was booked in for my indoctrination, where I would finally learn all about the greatness of the Orb and get my own set of robes. But then came an unexpected twist. Stay tuned to find out what it was. Well, dear listeners, I am no longer a member of the Orb Foundation. They kicked me out for being too negative a person. Who'd have thought it? Took away my robes and everything. Oh well, life goes on, as they say. And so does our radio show. Alas, my Orb Foundation adventure did not have a happy ending. And you'll never guess why. They kicked me out for being too negative a person. Who would have thought it? Took away my robes and everything. Oh well, life goes on, as they say. And so does our radio show. A warm greeting to you all this fine morning, especially those of you in Hawthorn, where renovations have been completed on the bridge that leads to the town's ancient castle. Officials say people crossing over will no longer need to wear parachutes and life jackets. It just won't be the same. I volunteered for some tests at Bungle Technologies. I don't know what they injected into me, but it doesn't seem to have had any effect. Eyeballs are supposed to be purple, right? We'll be right back, here on 2 Point Radio. What can I say about Flemington? With its beautiful winter gardens, its magnificent mansions, and its resident dukes, barons, and baronets. Well, I wish I could afford to live there for one thing. But I guess I'll settle for a visit instead. A very short, very expensive visit. Some unsettling news today. The air quality in Smogley is bad enough to kill a canary, and a new study says the pollution is spreading to the rest of the county. So take an umbrella with you. There could be pigeons falling out of the sky. And now to Duckworth upon Bilge, where recent financial struggles have hit public services particularly hard. So if you're planning to get sick or undergo any operations, I suggest you do that somewhere else. It'll take a resourceful mind and a confident hand to sort out this mess. Any volunteers? In the news today, conditions at the Rotting Hill Hospital are getting worse every day. Apparently, patients are just as likely to die from sinkholes and crumbling ceilings as any diseases. At least that'll keep the queues down. Residents of Blyton are celebrating this morning after their town was voted least hygienic place in 2 Point County for the 6th year running. They'll be hoping to retain their most epidemics and most people squished together in hot conditions crowns too. Good luck to them. Here we are in Croquembouche, the busiest, most bustling district in the whole of 2 Point County. And what a lovely place it is. A glass jungle with fierce competitive corporations vie for domination, and with a week are trampled by crowds. Never a dull moment, I can tell you. So if you want to work here, roll up your sleeves and get stuck in. This is 2 Point Radio with Ricky Hawthorn, and if you're feeling a bit under the weather, you're in luck, because my voice is the best medicine, unless you're really sick, in which case you should go to a hospital. It's time for the news now. A leak has been discovered in one of the Meltdown's factories. Police say they may have to evacuate the surrounding region, which sounds like a great excuse to go on holiday for a few weeks. Lucky people. And in today's news, a group of Crockle Bay residents are staging a protest against the planned development of a permanent bouncy castle. The group believes the money would be better spent building a bouncy pirate ship instead. Bungle have announced an initiative to eliminate hangnails by the year 2072. This will require the construction of a lunar base in which to conduct zero-gravity nail experiments. Money well spent, I'm sure you'll agree. It's the news on 2 Point Radio. Chorus Bridge out on Smogley is in danger of collapsing after being struck by a meteorite last night. Drivers are urged to drive over it really fast, just in case. More news coming up just as soon as we have any. Mongol have announced an initiative to eliminate hangnails by the year 2072. This will require the construction of a lunar base in which to conduct zero-gravity nail experiments. Money well spent, I'm sure you'll agree. Now for some news. Lecturers at the local teaching hospital have gone on strike after all the books in its medical library were sold at auction. Let's hope our future doctors have already learned everything they need to know. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Would you believe it? A new study shows 2 Point County is dangerously unhealthy. Well, that's why I like to do my part with the segment Get Fit with Rick. Stay tuned for some top fitness tips. In this edition of Get Fit with Rick, I'd like to introduce you to my 2 favorite yoga positions. First is one I like to call the suspicious otter, which really gives your pelvic basement a good workout. All you have to do is wrap your thighs around your head. Easy! Another earthquake warning for the sweaty palms area. Or as the hotels like to tell the tourists, it's time to look forward to another bouncy ground fun time. Enjoy your stay. My second favourite yoga position is what I like to call the cantankerous limpet, which really helps to strengthen your cheeks. You'll have to come down to the station for a practical demonstration of that one. And we finish our show with our nice words of the day. Today's quote comes from Avril Cumberbund. Sadness is not the opposite of happiness. The opposite of happiness is cinepapa. How wonderfully literal. It's time for the news around 2 Point County. A devastating avalanche in the Underlook area has swept away all the entries in this year's snowman building competition. We'll bring you updates on the efforts to dig them out. But for now, here's a bit more music for you. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. You're listening to the Ricky Hawthorn Show on 2 Point Radio, where the art of prattling on and never really saying anything is being realized to its full potential. I've got some very exciting news for you today. Shortly, we'll be having a call-in competition that will just knock your socks off. Oh, what a prize! You simply won't believe it. Stick around for an announcement after this next tune. We've just received some baking news. The muffin shop on Tuppence Road is having a half-price sale on all week-old muffins. More on this story as we get it. The Orb Foundation is in a bit of hot water today thanks to their controversial new recruitment drive. But according to the foundation, knocking people out, dragging them to secret facilities and brainwashing them is a time-honoured tradition that should be respected. Just goes to show there's 2 sides to every story. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Bad news, I'm afraid. The competition I promised has been cancelled. The amazing prize appears to have gone astray. I know I put it down here somewhere. Oh well, on to more music. In today's edition of Get Fit with Rick, I'll be giving you some pointers on exercising out and about this wonderful county of ours. First off, if you enjoy jogging, I'd steer clear of Smogley. Last time I went running there, I got a stone in my shoe. Some disturbing news today as a new virus starts to spread through 2 Point County. Symptoms include death, rising from the grave, and an insatiable hunger for human flesh. No, wait. I'm being told that was just the film I fell asleep to last night. Well, isn't that a relief? If you're a bit of a health nut like me, you'll have heard of the 10,000 steps a day goal. What a load of rubbish. What you want is 9,999 steps a day. A little thing I like to call psychology. For all you cyclists out there, my advice is get off your bike. We all know it's not really exercise, don't we? Unless you're planning to cycle up the pointy mountains, then you have my respect. I've decided it's time to give something back to this wonderful profession. I'm creating a radio internship so I can pass on all my knowledge and experience to a new generation. So if you have a passion for music, talking, and jockeying discs, send in an application. You too could be playing songs like this one. We close with this nice words of the day quote from local philosophy professor Herbert Thimble. Believe in yourself and wonderful things can happen. But believe in other things too, otherwise you're just a solipsist. We'll take your word for it, Professor. After receiving over 4 applications to the 2 Point Radio internship position, we now have our winner. Kirby Pliers stood head and shoulders above everyone else. Well, he is 6'10", and will be starting tomorrow. Wish him good luck. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Hi, this is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio, ready to tickle your ears with my vocal feathers once again. We've got a great show for you today, so don't go anywhere. Some sad news today as local sports hero Maurice Bunyan announced his retirement from the 2 Point Oinks. The Hog Hurling League just won't be the same without him. Jumbo has done it again. This week sees the release of their latest product, the self-watching TV. Now you can leave your home safe in the knowledge that all those wonderful Jumbo channel programs are still being watched. Well, clearly that was the wrong song. I'm afraid young Kirby, my new intern, hasn't quite grasped what each button does. And this coffee doesn't taste right. Wait, I think I can smell something burning. We'll be right back. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Today's Get Fit with Rick is for all you people who'd rather stay at home and exercise. Now, we've all heard about stationary bikes, but have you tried stationary skateboards? Just don't use one in front of a mirror. It's not a pretty sight. Here's a good way to stay in shape at home. Stationary swimming. I know what you're thinking, but this isn't about splashing about in a half-filled bathtub. That'd be silly. No, you should use an inflatable paddling pool. See how many lengths you can do. Now, if you like your sports to be a little more extreme, I've got 2 words for you. Stationary bungee jumping. That's 3 words, but that's just how extreme it is. All you need is a piece of string and a chair. And if that doesn't get your heart racing, I don't know what will. And I leave you with another inspirational quote from our Nice Words of the Day segment. When life hands you lemons, squeeze them and squirt the citric acid right into life's eyes. So long, dear listeners. And now a word from our sponsors, Palpitation, the premier energy drink. If you're having trouble sleeping, one quick swig will make you so relaxed people will think you're dead. Wait, this isn't the right copy. This is for drowsy drink. I think I'll go and have a word with young Kirby while you listen to this. We're just getting news of an electrical storm affecting one of our county's hospitals. That's going to play havoc with the equipment. Glad I'm not having an operation today. But if you are, just try to stay positive. We're getting reports of a volcanic eruption near a local hospital. And we all know what a mess it is when spluttering Nora has a coughing fit. Lava or hater, you can always count on her. I'm very happy to say young Kirby has graduated from 2 Point Radio's first ever internship program and has gone on to better things. In other news, the internship program is being cancelled until further notice, which means I can concentrate on my ever-faithful listeners. This record is dedicated to all of you. You've heard of hospital staff being snowed under. Well, after reports of an avalanche up in the Pointy Mountains, the patients, the beds, and the building itself could be under snow too. So, if you have a spare shovel, why not try to dig them out? The hospitals up in the Pointy Mountains better watch out. We're getting news reports of a violent hailstorm in the area, and those paper-thin hospital roofs could be in trouble. On the other hand, lots of free ice for everyone. And now the news. A dangerous animal has escaped from Grockle Bay Zoo, though the authorities have yet to reveal what species. Rumour has it that it's a 9-foot half tiger, half rhino with a big appetite. And just think, you won't need to buy a ticket to see it. Bartholomew F. Yeti from the Bigfoot Foundation paid a visit to a hospital this morning, showing once more how caring and thoughtful he is. Just goes to show, you don't have to be human to be a good person. How lucky the people who live in Svalbard are, up there in the mountains, away from the rest of civilization, cut off, isolated, left alone by this crazy modern world. It sounds a lot like being in a radio station, actually. You've got to laugh. Welcome, radio listeners. This is your radio host, Ricky Hawthorn, bringing you a filmatic special as I take a look at Roderick Cushion and count down my top 5 favourite moments from his storied on-screen career. We kick off our top 5 with number 5, and an unforgettably heartwarming moment from the Square Jaw and Bippy series. When the pair win the minestrone cook-off in the climatic scene of Boiling Over.
Don't forget the pepper!
You'll remember that they use the prize money to buy Sally's house before it's repossessed by the Lizard Men. Textbook filmmaking. At number 4, who could forget this emotional scene from Cecil Fulcrum, Swings and Roundabouts?
I'm willing to go down if it means you'll go up!
The film buffs amongst you may have noticed the symbolic relationship between the dialogue and the seesaw they're sat on during the scene. Oh, very tricky indeed. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Welcome back for number 3. What about this moment from Snowbody Knows, Snowbody Cares?
We may not know how to lose, but we care about each other. And that's what counts.
Of course, the pair are hospitalised for their efforts, but did you know that Roderick himself was hospitalised filming the sequence? Life imitating art. Oh, whatever you do, don't imitate this next song. For number 2, we've got an entry from the Perilous Spandex series. There are a lot of good ones to choose from, but I went with this moment from the original installment when our hero first receives his costume.
Well, I won't fit in that. It's tidy.
Oh, how wrong he was. At number 1 is the moment I'm sure you've all been waiting for, when Roderick's character delivers the titular line in Get Away From Those Children, Those Are My Children. Let's see how he did it.
Get away from those children! Those are my children!
Oh, classic. Still quoted every day in 2 Point County. To this day, you can be sure of that. Before we end today's show, how about one more bonus moment? I must confess I didn't recognise Mr. Cushion under all that makeup when he played BF Yeti's famous Bindlewarf character. But there's a reason they call him the man of half a dozen faces, because he really does have a few different ways of looking that aren't even very close to one another. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. Put down your pitchforks and take a deep breath. Ricky Hawthorn is here. Today on 2 Point Radio, I'll be taking you through a day in the life of yours truly. We start the way I start every day, with some music I don't know the name of. Each day, my first task is finding my slippers. They could be in any of 17 or 18 locations, and so this can take some time. Once they're found, I have some oats and homemade cottage cheese, and dry iron my clothes for the day ahead. Clothed, fed, and ready to go, I'll listen to my show from the day before to focus my craft. I take extensive notes in a shorthand of my own devising before shredding them and filing the remains. I find it's important to have your own creative process. It's then time to decompress in the garden. I find it invaluable to spend some time amongst the root vegetables, alone, with the ringing in my ears. Everyone should make some time to be totally vacant. We've reached the portion of my routine that's happening right now when I head into the station to do my show and talk to all you lovely people. Afterwards, Mr. Wolf and I might get some food, if he's around. Although that's a rare occurrence. An elusive breed, that one. It's important to me to feel like I've got my finger on the pulse of 2 Point County, so after work, I'll head out to take in the sights. I'll absorb the culture, see a talkie I've not yet seen, or simply listen to people talk at the park. In everything, there's a lesson to be learned by listening. Here, try it with this next song. Before bed, I reset the Hawthorn residence, hide my slippers, and warm a glass of orange squash to have with whatever old manual I'm reading at the time. Ovens, vacuums, boilers, I don't discriminate. And then to sleep, where I dream dreams of radio. Good night.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio.
Bonjour, may I take your coat, fetch you a drink, and sit you at a table for you? Today we're discussing all things foodie. I'll be your host, Chef Ricky. Bon appetit! For starters of our Chef Ricky extravaganza, we have a tip. The next time you make egg mayonnaise, why not try adding salt and pepper to elevate the flavor and double the number of ingredients? So simple, but oh so good. Up next from Chef Ricky, condiments. Some say that you need to pick your spots with sauces, but personally, I just haven't found that. Ketchup and peanut butter is a real treat. Horseradish and blueberries are much better than expected, and, so far as I can tell, mustard goes with everything. Make sure to experiment. You never know what magic combination you'll uncover next.
This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio.
Let's talk about fish. Now, I know what you're thinking. Ricky, isn't fish a bit, well, disgusting? And you'd be right. But did you know that the fish was originally used to keep the inside of the batter moist? That's why, as something of a culinary purist, I only eat the batter. Delightful. Time for Chef Ricky to answer one of your questions. This is from Ethel Carafe, who asks, what would you treat yourself to after a hard day? Well, Ethel, if there's anything more comforting than a nice bit of delicately boiled offal, then I certainly haven't eaten it. We finish with something a little bit special for those more sophisticated occasions. A recipe for some nibbles to accompany any delicious cock or mocktail. You'll need crackers, tinned tuna, hollandaise, blue cheese, and the finishing touch, red jam. Mwah! Well, I'd take you through how to construct this dish, but with ingredients like that, you can't go wrong. Pudding is done, the wine's all gone, and it's time for Chef Ricky to hang up his apron. I cannot claim to be classically trained. I am but a bundle of taste buds and a soupçon of ingenuity. I hope you've enjoyed today's treats all the same. Cheers and happy chewing. And good morning to Pebbly Reef, where everyone should just be waking up in 2 Point's very own paradise. Oh, no. I'm being told that the entire county has the same time zone. All right then. Good afternoon, Pebbly Reef. Moving on. There's word that Wiggy Silverbottom has been funding hospitals as part of his attempt to crack immortality. Ooh la la! It makes me think, what would I do with immortality? I think I'd spend most of it planning what to do with the rest of it. What about you? I'm hearing that a county hospital has been struck by intense and localized beams of sunlight. I don't understand what any of that means, but be sure to cream up and stay hydrated out there. I'm getting news that an offshore hospital has been hit by a water tornado. A funny story, Water Tornado was actually a potential name for my old band, but I'll tell it another time, as this is a very, very serious matter. One of our hospitals is littered with frogs after the friendly amphibians rained down from the sky. Isn't nature a strange and wonderful thing? I wonder what the clouds look like. Ponder on that while you listen to this.
Ricky Hawthorn.
Pack a bag, grab a fork, and don't forget your eating shoes, because you're coming on a trip with Chef Ricky. Yes, it's me, Ricky Hawthorn, and today I'll be taking your taste buds all over 2 Point County and talking about some of my most favourite comestible experiences. The Flemington area is renowned for its traditional oyster stews. Unfortunately, the guide I was using was maybe a little too traditional, as the restaurant I had planned to visit moved 35 years ago. Luckily, the petrol station now at that site sold a really memorable version of that fishiest of concoctions. It just goes to show, you don't have to be picky when it comes to seafood. It's all good. And now to hog sport, and one of my favourite spots, the oily cormorant. You must try their rendition of the region's kidney and kidney pie, made popular, of course, during the steak drought of 1823. I'll also recommend trying their famous linseed aioli, mixed in barrels made of recycled cricket bats.
This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio.
I'm sure you've heard of smoking food, but have you heard of smogging food? It's all the rage down in, you guessed it, Smogly. While it may be an acquired taste, if I've learned anything about food over the years, it's that acquired tastes are always the fanciest, and therefore the best. The Gruckle Bay bug, that 10-legged wonder, the crown jewel of our county's waters. There's something so captivating about a crustacean that you can share amongst a table of 5. The shells are incredibly useful, of course. I have one at my home that I use as a rather tasteful fruit bowl. Let's talk about the Cirque du Parfait and its namesake semi-solid. I wouldn't recommend eating anything but when you're there, not least to avoid disparaging looks from the patrons if you're seen eating anything with a discernible texture. It's a special moment for any Poincian child to select a spoon and head to the flavour gazebo to make that first order. Mine was half pistachio, half liver and onions. You never forget. To finish our trip, I'd like to talk about vegetables from the southeast of our beautiful county, a region I've not yet visited. Though through my contacts in the greengrocing community, I've started sourcing carrots as big as a leg and as sweet as you like. Sensational! If I knew any better, I'd say they were designed rather than grown. Kudos to the farmers down in Camouflage Falls.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the show. Today, by popular request, we'll be discussing all things human. We've had a plethora of great questions, and I will seek to answer some of them with my many years' experience in being human. Trousers Kevin writes in, Salutations, Ricky. How should one barter on Earth? Transmission over. Thanks for getting in touch, Trousers. It's always been my policy to take the local currency to an emporium and exchange the requisite amount, as priced by the merchant, for your desired wares. I hope that clears things up. One from an Eilaheen note from here. First time, long time. Instruct me in how to satiate my human form. Oh, I'm glad this came up. You can't expect to be a well-being without thinking about your well-being. To do that, you've got to stay hydrated, drink lots of fluids, use a moisturizing lotion or cream, and always make time to stand in the rain when the opportunity arises. First name, last name writes in, I must ingratiate myself with my co-inhabitants. Personally, I've always found food a favourable friend-finding force. Go out for dinner, share a picnic in the park, or throw a luncheon and whack on an enormous casserole. Either way, there's nothing like digestion to form newfound fondness. Crash Landon asks, what knowledge and skills have you found invaluable on Earth? Well, I used to think that reading was an overrated skill. Yes, I was adamant about that. But then I turned 4 and saw the proverbial proverbage light. The point being, the best skill is being able to completely change your mind. Beyond that, well, my mother once told me that you should know how to build a primitive seaworthy raft. That's a good one. Vega the Destroyer calls in to say, what does one do for jocularity in this climate? Well, Vega, to list a few, interact with the plant matter, observe weather patterns, and delight in the deliberation of appropriate clothing. Oh, and people love balls. Catch one, throw one, lose one, find it again. Oh, great times. Balls. That's enough human for one day. A big thank you to Charlatine Fish Wrapper over at the 2 Point Squabbler for getting this conversation started with her enchanting column entitled How to Get By on Earth Well. A great read, and certainly a smirk-inducing concept. Hopefully she's listened in and enjoyed today. Thanks for playing along, folks.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio.
Good morning, 2 Point County. I hope you slept well. Sleep. We all need it, don't we? But sometimes it's interrupted by police helicopters, randy badgers, or the weird and wonderful of our own minds. Recently troubled by a fever, I had a fantastically strange dream. Yes, very strange indeed. What a strange dream. Get in touch and let me know about your peculiar dreams while I take you through one of mine. Here is my dream. I woke to find myself in an incredibly sophisticated environment, all chrome plating and flashing lights. I was suspicious from the offset, but it was when I couldn't hear the lullaby of the ring road that I knew I was no longer in my home. I had never felt so far from everything I knew, and I cried the tears of a man lost in the loneliness of his lonesomeness, although I wasn't alone for long. This is a recurring dream sent in by Gretchen Hootenanny. I'm trapped in an enormous birdcage and sitting on grandfather's armchair. I don't have much time left to finish my exam, but my pen is across the room, frozen in yogurt, laughing at me and my aspirations. It seems to say, I'm the king of the castle, and you are a dirty rascal. What talking pens? Now that's a classic.
This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio.
Back to my dream. Where was I? Ah, yes. I was joined by beings that took a series of different forms. I found their presence extremely stabilizing. They took me through a series of tasks and tests with minimal communication. At some point, I believe I was given a snack. When they were done with me, everything changed. Back to that cliff edge later in the show. This dream's from Archibald B. Bladder, who says, standing in a dark, cavernous room, a tall chimp in a ball gown tells me that I'd like some tea. They smile and leave the room astride a small steam train. I wave them off with a hanky that I find in my mouth. Thanks for that, Archie. What a belter. Now, the final chapter of The Dream. They were out of tests. I'd been examined, given potions, and shot through a machine like some Hawthorn-based sausage. When I began to fear that my usefulness had expired, and with it their hospitality, they began all in unison to move rhythmically, celebrating, I felt, in dance. I almost remember the sound of their wonderful, joy-filled music. Maybe it sounded a little like this. I woke the next day feeling much better. Isn't that strange? I guess it just goes to show that dreams can be powerful, surreal, even medicinal things. If only I could explain that bracelet I woke up with. Oh well, for another day, I suppose. Did you see the developers of the Camouflage Falls estate sent out an update recently? They've moved from finished sometime quite soon to finished sometime soon. A great step for 2 Point County's most exclusive unfinished accommodation. I tell you what I've been enjoying recently, the scribblings of one Ms. Charlatine Fish Wrapper over at the 2 Point Squabbler. finally someone writing in a fashion that I can understand. I particularly enjoyed her piece, 7 Ways to Get the Most Out of Your Coat. Now that was high-quality wordsmithery. Head to your roofs and windows, listeners, and turn your attention to the south, where space rocks are raining down from the sky. A beautiful, peaceful sight. Unless they're raining down on you, I'd imagine. Oh, well, you win some, you lose some. There are reports of a faulty satellite dropping machine parts on unsuspecting citizens in the south of the county. So if you notice any issues with any of your wireless services, do get in touch with your providers. We've received yet another prank phone call asking us to raise awareness of pilfering raccoons. But I won't be fooled. Although they may look like tiny thieves, this isn't some far-fetched cartoon. This is real life.
Ricky Hawthorn.
Studio. You're looking as handsome as ever. Right then, I need a cup of tea. Barbara! How was your evening? Barbara? Barbara? Chat later. Classic Barbara. Mr. Hawthorn, what's in your sandwich today? Well, Ricky, so funny you should ask. Today in my sandwich, I have pilchards. Pilchards. This is Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio. 3 across. Where sailors meet. Harbour. It's a harbour. 3 across is a harbour. H-A-U-R. Harbour. That's right. A nice smelling thing. Oh, there's a bit of cake here. Some cake. Don't know there's some cake being there. Come to me, Mr. Cake. Let's just practice. This is Ricky. This is Ricky Hawthorn. Bigger. Put a hey in front of it. Hey, it's Ricky Hawthorn. That's the one. Do that. That's the one. Ricky, you're on fire. You're on fire, Ricky. Hey, it's Ricky Hawthorn, and welcome to the show. Join me for its beginning, right after this. I'm told that it's the end of my show and that I was live on air for the bulk of my show prep. Well, I hope you all enjoyed hearing the inner workings of this Hawthorn. Join me next time, where I'll hopefully be aware that it's happening.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorn on 2 Point Radio.
Ding dong! Chef Ricky's at your electromagnetic door with some piping hot culinary takeaways. Tonight, I will be serving up tips on how to turn your dinner party from lukewarm to luke hot. There'll be anecdotes and recipes, laughter and tears. Stick around. Think of the guest list as the seasoning to your evening, but also as the foundation, like a fine meaty stock. And remember, above all else, it's the guest list. You can go in a number of different directions, and that's why I'd recommend trying out a number of them. Bring together multiple circles to create concentric circles. For a more intimate atmosphere, invite only your closest friend, or spice things up by inviting people that positively despise each other. Now that's fiery. Ambience, or as I like to call it, noise pairing. The soundtrack to your evening must be composed with all of the same discernment as your food. You must consider its balance, its volume, and its acidity. I won't go so far as to give away the recipe to my perfect playlist, largely because everyone must develop their own true sound. But I will say that I believe I've discovered the perfect balance of accordion jazz and bird calls. Slow is smooth, and smooth is really quite delicious. That's right, slow cooking is all the rage, and you should give it a try. You'll have heard about all the favourites, your 24-hour this and your 48-hour that, but try out my 72-hour wild boar, guaranteed to make you say, caw. Dinner conversation. I've heard countless bits of advice that centre around memorising topic ideas or interesting tidbits and so on. And that's all well and good, and I really mean that. But I've decided to take it a step further and designed 4 or 5 line scripts for myself. I'll admit that sometimes one of my planned responses doesn't always make the most sense to what my guest has just said, but what you lose in cohesion, you make up for in practice and snappy delivery. Try it sometime. Careful, just because you finished dinner doesn't mean that you finished your dinner party. Guests are a greedy, ungrateful breed as a rule, and they need entertaining. Don't get caught with your trousers on backwards, and make sure you've got something planned. A few recommendations: garden skittles, lemon verbena, and the kazoo. Any host can throw a pleasant evening, but only the expert host knows how to get rid of their guests. An acrobat can corkscrew in mid-air all they like, but unless they stick the landing, no one will remember their dinner party. Each evening is different and requires a unique approach. Know when to yawn, when to remind a guest of their early start, when to yell panther and run screaming from your own home. Good night. It's important to keep your mind open to new information, and when it comes to the environment, I try and pay particular attention. I recently learned that it's important to turn off lights in rooms that you're not using. I hadn't done this for years, simply because I believed that things out of eyeshot stopped existing. Be like this old dog and learn some new tricks. From its futuristic design, its top-notch transport system, and its boutique yogurt vendors, I'm hearing a lot of great things about 2 Point's first Eco-City. I'll be sure to give it a visit the second I can figure out how to book a ticket via their online travel portal. Where do I find this portal? How do I get in? Lucky for them, there's nothing I love more than things I barely understand. It's almost time for Mudbury Festival. Oh, I do love a festival, and if I may be so bold as to toot my own horn, 1 year, as a child, I came in 5th place in the esteemed Drawing Mudbury Festival competition. Yes, if there's one thing I'm good at, it's drawing mud. Ah, this is a nice one. Famed artist Zara Fitzpocket recently paid a visit to a local hospital. If she's shown any of that high-tech medical equipment, perhaps she'll know how I feel at an art gallery. Confused, but mightily impressed. This next song's for you, Zara. Captain Yesterday is getting about a bit, isn't he? Selling everything from time travel apparatus to lunchboxes. If anyone's bought his equipment, do call in and let us know where you are in space and time. I'm not sure I've got the stomach for time travel. From the wild look in the captain's eyes, seeing a gargantuan prehistoric lizard clearly changes a man. Sometimes I wonder about the future. How will we live and what will we do? Will we live in crystal towers in a world of harmony and finger sandwiches? Or will we spar like vagabond gladiators for tins of beans in a world set ablaze by foolishness and greed? Either way, I can't wait. I hope you're all out of the wind and rain that's battering the county, loyal listeners. I'm told emergency calls are through the roof right now. Or they would be if the studio still had a roof.